President Trump is not coming to Israel this time. A lot of people are upset about that. But he's not going to Egypt or Jordan either, two American allies that he's really put through the ringer lately, I think you could say. Is that a snub? Do you think they're concerned in Cairo?
Great to be here tonight with you, Laura. Look, this is the first trip of this presidency to the Middle East, and there's a couple of things we got to remember. Obviously, there's a lot we don't know about what went into the decision-making process when choosing where to and where not to go. But there are some things that we do know. First and foremost, Donald J. Trump is the president of the deal. He knows how to make deals, he knows how to close deals, and he's also the president of the America First doctrine, putting the Americans first. And when I look across the region, when we look across the region, we see where there are opportunities for deals, and we see where there are problems. And the Gulfs, particularly the Saudi Arabians, the Emiratis, have made themselves available for deals. They have poised themselves to the president that we are looking to advance, we are looking to make deals and close deals. And when I look across the region, I see there are places where there are problems, and there's much less opportunities for those deals that the president so values. And those places are places like Jordan and Egypt, where their economy is suffering, where there's less opportunity for them to engage with the president the way he wants to engage with the region.
Right, and I guess it's a similar situation with Jordan, isn't it? I mean, this is a country that's received huge amounts of US aid in recent years. I guess President Trump has decided perhaps it's not worth the money.
First of all, thank you for having me. I would echo my colleague Mariam's points on what President Trump is looking for in this trip. Again, Jordan has limited capabilities, resources that it can offer to President Trump. It has a geopolitical stature in the region. However, it cannot provide, again, resources or any economic opportunities for President Trump. And so I think the priority for President Trump was to enhance the relationship between the Gulf and the United States. And in that, he has sidelined the Egyptians and the Jordanians from being potential visits.
And the Israelis, by the look of things.
Well, I mean, that's a different case. I think what Mariam said, President Trump is looking for economic deals, and I think he's focusing a lot on the Gulf in this matter. Who knows whether Israel would be next, but I think the priority is very clear.
Absolutely. He's going to the Gulf, which is where he went for the first visit during his first term. All right, we'll come back to that. Thank you both. Mariam Wahba and Ahmad Sharawi are still with me in the studio. So, Mariam, I mean, there seems to be a theme developing when you speak to people from the Gulf. There seems to be a sense that the United States has let them down and proved themselves to not be the most reliable allies. Of course, America is a democracy, and the president's elected for a 4-year term. But they're starting to hedge their bets and look elsewhere. They're not going to throw their lot in with the Americans 100%, are they?
Absolutely. I mean, especially when we talk about Egypt. Egypt is geopolitically located at such a prime and prized location in the region, and has for hundreds of years become a geopolitical stable point in the region for superpowers and surrounding countries alike. And from the Egyptian perspective, they're looking at America with kind of squinty eyes. They're looking to see what the U.S. can provide. Obviously, one of the major components of the U.S. Egypt relationship is the foreign military aid funding that Egypt receives every year, which stands at an average of $1.3 billion a year. And that is a strategic relationship that the U.S. has forged with Egypt. Obviously, the United States, Washington, has withheld some parts of that aid throughout the years. Most recently, last year, held a couple $100 million conditioned on human rights and democratization efforts. And while Washington has really not held to its own promise on those conditions and has issued waivers to let the aid flow, Egypt does look at the United States with squinty eyes, and we do see Egypt looking at other places in the world where they can grow their geopolitical standing. Most recently, we've seen China engage with Egypt. Just over last week, we saw a combined air exercise between Cairo and Beijing, and these are worrying signs that Egypt is hedging.
Right, because that's also part of the purpose of President Trump's visit, isn't it? Is to try and peel these countries away from China and get them back towards the US axis. But I mentioned Qatar when I was talking to Najwa there, and how it supports the Muslim Brotherhood. And this is something quite specific to the country you study, Jordan, because, of course, the king of Jordan has just banned the Muslim Brotherhood. I mean, what has been the impact of that there?
So, I mean, the problem with the Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan, escalated after the October 7 attacks in 2023. We had protests in Jordan calling for the cancellation of the 1994 peace treaty between Jordan and Israel. We had public criticism of the king and the government and the police, calling them Zionists. And they had very threatening messages against the kingdom, against the stability of the monarchy. And so it was detrimental for the government to crack down on the Muslim Brotherhood.
And we should point out the main political party in Jordan is linked to the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yes, the Islamic Action Front, which is the political wing of the Muslim Brotherhood, is the biggest party in the Jordanian parliament. They got 31 seats in the most recent elections in 2024 following the Gaza attacks. Again, they used the Gaza war in order to increase their public support on the electoral stage. Of course, there was a Muslim Brotherhood-related plot that was uncovered last month by the General Intelligence Directorate in Jordan. Weapons were to be used against domestic targets in Jordan, and that's when the government decided to close down the Muslim Brotherhood and label them as a banned political organization in Jordan.
And of course, Egypt has taken a much more robust stance when it comes to dealing with the Muslim Brotherhood, hasn't it? But it is still a real concern for
Absolutely.
Egypt.
I mean, with Egypt, the Muslim Brotherhood is kind of the looming threat that stays no matter how much you ban it, no matter how much you exile its leaders, and no matter how much you imprison them. This is what President Sisi sees as the biggest threat to his control, his reign over Egypt. And while they have, the intelligence services in Egypt have pretty tight control on what kind of Muslim Brotherhood exists, we're seeing Muslim Brotherhood operatives operate outside from Egypt, and that's really where the worry comes in.
Are you worried about the influence Qatar has over the United States because Qatar supports and actively funds the Muslim Brotherhood across the region?
Look, I mean, we're seeing some really complicated relationships come to the surface, particularly between Egypt and Qatar. We've seen some reports that Qatar has been undermining Cairo in the hostage and ceasefire negotiations. And there's a lot we don't know about what kind of nefarious activities are happening behind the scenes between these countries. What we do know is Egypt and Qatar have been cooperating, and Egypt has made clear its stand on where how it sees the Muslim Brotherhood as a threat to its stability. And now it's kind of up to Qatar to see how they receive that communique from Cairo.
And Ahmed, I mean, Israel, Jordan, and Egypt, they're on the same side when it comes to fighting these Islamist forces, and yet the level of cooperation between the three countries is very much under strain, isn't it? Do you see that changing, at least behind the scenes? So,
I mean, the problem is when it comes to Jordan is that the Muslim Brotherhood has a popular base amongst Palestinians or Jordanians of Palestinian descent, and that's why it's hard to confront them like what Israel does with Hamas. Hamas does not have public support, of course, within Israel, so fighting against it the Israeli population is united. When it comes to Jordan, you're dealing with a political party, a legitimate political party that is part of the parliament, that is the biggest party in the parliament, and has, again, used the Palestinian cause, which is a very sensitive cause amongst Jordanians, to its own advantage. I would assume that there has been more coordination over the past, at least the short period, especially since the Muslim Brotherhood in Jordan is increasingly becoming more militant, which threatens both Jordan and Israel. However, in terms of the domestic political scene, it would be very hard for the Jordanians to ban a political party like the Islamic Action Front, because it would need a judicial order and it would cause public backlash.
Absolutely. And just very briefly, Mariam, in terms of Egypt's relations with Israel, of course, Egypt still hasn't sent an ambassador to Israel. There hasn't been one, I think, for nearly a year now.
Yes. We know that this counteroffensive on the Israeli part in Gaza has really strained relations between Cairo and Jerusalem, and that is a fact. I mean, like our colleague aptly observed earlier today, the pictures coming out of Gaza being broadcast on Egyptian national TV are not easy ones for the 112 million Egyptians to watch, and this is an issue. The Palestinian cause is an issue near and dear to Egyptians' hearts. So what we're seeing is President Sisi and his administration really try to balance domestic turmoil with how they're perceiving Israel's counteroffensive in Gaza.
Let's get a comment then from Mariam Wahba and Ahmad Sharawi, who are with me in the studio. And just in terms of ending the war in Gaza, because all of the countries in the region have kind of got together and tried to come up with some kind of solution. Of course, we had the Arab League summit in Cairo not too long ago. But is there a sense that Egypt is kind of losing control of the situation. The Saudis and the Gulf countries seem to be taking more of a lead. Do you think that's fair?
I think you hit on a very important point, Laura, here, and that is Egypt is losing control of the situation. Egypt has, of course, taken the lead time and time again in facilitating ceasefire deals and hostage deals between Israel and various Palestinian factions. I think where there was a misstep on Cairo's part is that plan that they released just a couple of weeks ago that really failed to address the main concerns of the Israelis and the Americans, things like demilitarization, things like how Gaza would be governed. And we do know that there is an upcoming summit next month that seeks to build on this this initial plan, but there really isn't something missing from this plan, and it's really addressing the concerns of the Israelis and the Americans.
And Ahmed, Jordan has been trying to take the lead when it comes to humanitarian aid, hasn't it? There's talk about increasing that as Israel looks for new ways to get aid to the people, bypass Hamas. But if the Americans do force Israel to abandon this expanded offensive in Gaza and essentially accept Hamas's terms, that could have a knock-on effect in Jordan, isn't it, if Hamas is seen as victorious?
Absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of Jordanians are supportive of Hamas, and this has the Muslim Brotherhood and the Islamic Action Front have most of their supporters wear Hamas headbands, chant in support of Yahya Sinwar, Ismail Haniyeh, all these notorious Hamas leaders. And so if Hamas survives, if Hamas is victorious, again, this will have a knock-off effect in Jordan, as it will showcase that Hamas is capable of fighting against Israel. And I wouldn't be surprised if more political organizations within Jordan will showcase their support to Hamas, probably become more militant and supportive of Hamas's militant activities in Gaza and the West Bank. So what Jordan wants the Palestinian population in Gaza to remain in place, but on a security level, I don't think Hamas's survival and victory will have a positive effect in Jordan or amongst the Jordanian politicians or the officials.
Right, and I mean, we will wait for President Trump's big announcement. Whatever he says, whatever he does during that 2-3 days in the region will have a knock-on effect on multiple countries. So thanks for breaking that down for us. Mariam Wahba Ahmad Sharawi from the FDD. Thank you.
Thank you.